Hello, my loves. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Dustina. This is Spiritual Boujee Astrology, and we're going to take a look at the astrological transits of August 26th to September 1st. Now, before we do any type of recap or look ahead, I have a quick little reminder for all of my existing clients. This is the last week to capitalize on my readings being at a discounted price. Now, what does that mean? Right now, everybody, since the middle of July, has been getting the new client pricing. You've been getting the lower pricing. But this is the last week that that's going to continue. And I know a lot of you like to go ahead and like pre-buy a bunch of them at the discounted rate because I'll let you do that, knowing that you're going to use them over the course of the next 2 to 3, 6 months, whatever it's going to be. If you are wanting to capitalize on my discounted pricing, this is the last week to do that. Everybody's been lowered down to new client pricing because with the volatile energy, I expected more people needing one-on-one attention compared to normal. And y'all have proven me right. With as busy as I have been, there's been too many nights that go all the way to midnight and 2 o'clock in the morning. Y'all don't know what my Monday through Fridays look like sometimes. It's a lot. I'm not complaining. I love every single minute of it, but it's the truth. It can be a lot sometimes. So if you are wanting to capitalize on that discounted pricing, it's $35 for an hour, $50 for 90 minutes. And again, this is the last week to do that. Okay. Now, speaking of that mid-July part, when I started the special, just to be clear, 2 planets went into shadow that week. One that had a short-term effect, which is what we're dealing with right now, and one that has a long-term effect. And I want to remind everybody of that week. It's roughly between July 15th all the way to July 21st. We had 2 planets entering shadow. We had the Mars-Uranus conjunction, and we had that second full moon in Capricorn. And there were shifts in roles, shifts with the elders, shifts in responsibility that have come around full circle so many times since that time frame. And it's crazy to me how often I get those messages from people, or I'm talking one-on-ones going, I can't believe how accurate that was. I'm like, sometimes I can't believe it either, but it's the truth. I read it how I see it, and even I still get like dumbfounded by how accurate it can come through sometimes. But we've had waves of energy, and there is some part of this week that rounds back to that midweek of July. And what I said about that week is, guys, this is a vibration change. That middle part of July, there was so much going on that everybody, even if you didn't have something going on in that moment, you felt that spike of anxiety. And you could blame the full moon, you could blame whatever, it doesn't really matter. Like, we all felt it, like, what is going on? And a lot of people saw the actual results of that in their lives. And you've been still dealing with something that has come through since that mid-July standpoint. And now we're rounding back to it in some way. Now, why do I say that? Again, 2 planets, can't talk now, 2 planets entered shadow that week, Jupiter and Mercury. Mercury is the one we're dealing with right now. We're coming back to something that came through in that time frame. And many of us are going to be having some conversations through the first part of this week that is going to instigate a turnaround in the dialogue, a turnaround in the story, a turnaround in the vibration. But I don't mean this in the huge frequency thing like I said in July, but we're meant to come back in what we thought was true, what we thought was real has changed. It's changing. And somewhere in the first part of the week, there's going to be something that gets addressed. And I want to be absolutely clear about this next part. This is not a good week to be caught lying, because I'm telling you now, especially with the way the first half of the week is going, and I mean Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, that lie, if you are caught telling it, can directly impact the way eclipse season is going to go. And that's September, October, guys. That ain't far. September 1st is the end of this week. But there can be something that comes through, some type of information, some type of dialect, some type of version of the story where we try to spin something, where we're trying to say something, and someone can get caught in a lie. If you are Venus activated right now, that means either Venus is your chart ruler or your time lord. Don't get caught lying. And if you think you're pulling a fast one, I'm telling you now, you're not. It will unravel. Okay. There will be something that comes through in the first half of the week that changes the story. It gives more information. It gives more layers. It gives more depth. It provides more accuracy. It offers more results. It gives another version of the story. And this is why I'm saying version of the story. And don't get caught lying. You will regret it. Because everybody has their own version. There is two sides to every story. And someone has to come in the middle and decipher between the two. And what I have said throughout this entire Mercury retrograde is that what can be proven tangibly, the words, the receipts, the audit, the reports, the spreadsheets, whatever can be proven tangibly is what will work in favor compared to blowing smoke. There's a final level of revealing this week. An upper level. I don't want to say the full-on final last one because we still got some parts of this that will go into next week too. But there's a definite turnaround in the situation based off of what comes to light this week. And for many people, by the time we get to the end of the week, many of us are going to be forced to go back to the drawing board, and we're going to have to change course. We're going to have to change plans. Now, why do I say that? 2 planets change directions this week. 2 planets change signs. Change, 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 change. Okay? Changes. Mercury goes direct. Just talked about that. By the end of the week, Uranus will turn retrograde. Right as Uranus is turning retrograde, Pluto will change signs. Right after Mercury turns retrograde, because when Mercury is turning retrograde, there's going to be this Venus-Neptune opposition energy going on. The very next day, on Thursday, Venus will go into Libra. And whatever gets brought to light, whatever information gets revealed, whatever gets worked through, whatever comes out, it's like that is what we start to run with. And not everybody is going to be on board with that version of the story, with those results, with that dialogue, with those receipts. Not everybody is going to be okay. It's going to shift our focus. And many people, once you get to the end of the week, and just for you all that aren't here in the States, know that we're about to go into a holiday weekend. So it's going to be a 3-day long weekend for a lot of people. But as we go into the long weekend, a lot of people are going to go into it with something on their mind, something that they are thinking about, something that they have to come to terms with, something that is going to change the momentum, and something that needs to be readdressed. Now, since the beginning of the year, from one transit to another, there's been so much of us pushing for levels of progress. And I've said since the beginning of the year, we're going to push to go into something new. Somewhere between March, April, May, we went into the something new. We tried to stabilize it as best as possible. I said in May, build a solid foundation, because if it's not solid, it ain't going to make it through the rest of the year. And now we're getting into the timeline where we're starting to question what we started. Some of us, we're still solid. This is my house. This is the foundation that I poured. That's the frame that I built. There's tons of brackets, tons of bolts. This shit is solid, braces and everything. But the house next to you, your neighbor, your business partner, your parents, your family member, your wife, the other person involved, they're not solid. They didn't move as fast as you. They didn't equate for the unfinished business. And many people are going to make decisions over the next 2 weeks to move ahead without another person, without the same vigor, without the same help, without everybody on board. Uranus turning retrograde, right as Pluto goes back into Capricorn, will take us into that next round of unfinished business. Y'all thought I was saying the unfinished business just because of Venus, Mars, and Mercury. I wasn't. Pluto going back into Capricorn at the end of the week, which we will put more emphasis into whenever I start talking about the September month ahead forecast and next week's weekly forecast. It's going to take our focus back to an old thing, something that we thought we'd been able to move away from. An old power struggle, an old power dynamic, an old frustration. We have unfinished business somewhere. And that's going to encapsulate a lot of what we start to deal with in September and October, which of course is eclipse season. Pluto in Capricorn ties into eclipse season somehow for a lot of us. So be aware of that. Only so much of the things that we started back in the springtime were going to stick. We were either doing it with the wrong person, we're doing the right thing on our own, but we're in the wrong territory. We're in the wrong state. We're working with the wrong energy. We're working with the wrong person. We're working with the wrong product. And as we've rounded into now, we've learned that in some way. And something must change. Something must get reworked. This is not the week of the rework. I want to be clear about that. But this is the week, this next 2 weeks, actually, this last week of September and the first week of this last week of August. I'm ready for September. I'm so sorry. The last week of August going into the first week of September is what's making us aware of that we need to go back to something. But this isn't Mercury retrograde go back. No, Mercury goes direct this week. It's something else. Something older, something longer. And as much as I have said for the collective of the last 2 years, we've got unfinished business. When we start getting into the Pluto side of things, it goes all the way back to 2008. We have unfinished business in whatever Pluto and Capricorn represented for us. We have to go back and change our focus, change the production. The elements of this week is going to make us aware of where we need to go back. The decisions of this week are going to make us aware of where we must return, where we must rethink, where we must revise, where we must shift our focus. Expect things to come to light this week. Expect additional versions of the story. Expect new reports. Expect new results. Expect the next layers of an investigation. Expect outcomes. And once you have certain outcomes, they're going to make you shift your focus. There's a reason for that. That shift in focus is going to take us back to a whole different layer of unfinished business. One that I haven't truly had to harp on quite yet, because Mercury does what Mercury does. Okay, let's get into the week. Let's get into Monday. Monday, August 26th, I've got this right here at 12:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. The reason I have that is because right before midnight, the moon went into Gemini. It started a trine with Pluto, and it started its last quarter moon with the sun. First quarter moons equal wind-ups. We start building up to something. Last quarter moons means we're winding down. We're winding something down. And I really wanted to show that right now, all of these planets in Mercury's sign, right as Mercury is stationing. We start on the 26th for the next 48 to 72 hours. It's right in the middle of that. Mercury is stationing. Mercury is about to end its retrograde. And when the moon going through Gemini, making squares to the sun and Venus, making conjunctions to Jupiter and Mars, there's a lot of mercurial things that are going to take place between Monday and Tuesday. A lot of topics, a lot of conversations, a lot of information, a lot of reports, a lot of receipts, a lot of screenshots, a lot of data, logistics, communication, travel. The first few days of the week are very mercurial, and Mercury is spinning. So some people will feel Monday and Tuesday like they are spinning, trying to get something going. We're restless, waiting for some results, waiting for some news, waiting for something to come to light, waiting to be shown something. Don't be surprised if people are struggling with their patience Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, just to be clear. Okay. So again, the moon is going to make its exact square to the sun. We'll have that last quarter moon right between 3:30 and 5:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. Now, whenever it comes to this day, there is not a lot of direct transits beyond this one. Everything is either separating or building to something, building to some type of information, building to some type of news, building up to some level of change, or we're working away from what's already changed. So there's a limbo feeling, which is going to make a lot of people feel restless. Their minds are going to be busy and overactive. I'm telling you now, I'm warning you now, because when it comes to Monday, this is the only direct transit. Now, Mars is square with Venus. That was exact last week. That was before. So we're still in it. It's separating, but it's not exact yet. Jupiter's square with Saturn. It's separating. We're still in the vibration of it. It's not as exact anymore, but we're still in the focus of whatever has come through since that full moon in Aquarius. Venus is trying to Uranus. It's not exact on Monday. It's building all day. So there's a lot of angst, anticipation, curiosity, excitement, mental energy, mental buzzing, huge conversations going throughout the day on Monday, but nothing really exact happening, but we know it's coming. We know information is being exchanged. We know things are on the horizon, but not a whole lot of direct. If you're going to have some direct things, it's either prequel things to the exact transit that's going to happen Tuesday, Wednesday, or it's that carryover ripple from before, but it's very unlikely to be something raw, brand new. Okay. We're going to get into the 27th. We're going to get into Tuesday. And we have a couple things happening right around the 2:30 to 5 a.m. mark. So I've got this at 2:30 because this is when this first one is exact. Again, what I said was like all day Monday, Uranus is trying to Venus is building, but there's nothing exact happening, so to speak. It happens right after midnight. So you can see right this right here, 2:30 in the morning in the States. Here is Uranus, 27 degrees, 14 minutes. Here's Venus, 27 degrees, 14 minutes. It is exact. Now, this by itself, not everybody is going to feel. Some people might be doing some late night things on Monday where we're changing the aesthetic of something suddenly, or we're working on like some final round of paint. We're doing on like some final round of color change. Like we're doing something that has to do with the aesthetic, but it's tangible aesthetic because this is earth to earth. We're making some unexpected arrangements for an appointment. We're realizing we need to handle something the next morning, or in that next morning time frame, we're going to have a meeting and we're like mentally preparing for it in the late evenings of Monday going into Tuesday. Now, the other reason I brought this time frame up and I put these two together was because the most exact between 3 and 5, but you can kind of see it building right here. Saturn is going to enter its square to the moon. You see this right here. Saturn 16 degrees 50 minutes. Here's the moon 16 degrees 4 minutes. Saturn's going one way, the moon is going the other. Are you really excited about your appointment? Are you ready to go? Yep. I'm ready to go in there and tell them that I'm not going to work there anymore. Some people will want to do something very loud. Some people will want to make a stance in where they're coming from and how they're feeling. Uranus is stationing, and by the end of the week, it will go retrograde. So we can feel more and more that, like, I'm going to help you do this one thing, but this will be the last time I help you, kind of thing. And it doesn't have to mean that in the ultimatum way. It's just like, if you know you're not going to be at a company much longer, you can literally tell your coworkers. I've done this before. I remember whenever I was about to break away from home building, I was telling my team, I'm like, look, I already know, I can see it. I'm not going to be here much longer. So if you're going to want me to do something, if I need to stand on some kind of hill and fight for something for you guys, I need to know what it is. Let me know, because I will fight for it now, because as soon as I'm gone, I won't be here to fight for it. Like, are you leaving? Nope. I just know I'm not going to be here much longer because I could see it. This is like one of those things, you know, the writing's on the wall, you know, you're about to walk out the door. So you're literally telling somebody, if I do this with you, this is going to be the last time. I'm not going to be here much longer. Saturn going one way, moon going the other. Uranus is stationing. Venus is full steam ahead. Some people might be talking about, like, they feel like they're about to leave. They feel like they're about to go in another direction. They feel like something's about to happen, but it might not be happening right at this moment. Again, it's happening in the middle of the night. It can set the vibration for what we start to deal with throughout the day on Tuesday, but there's a lot of this where we can start to feel like, yeah, I'm just not feeling it the same way. I'm not as excited about it. I was excited. I thought it was a great idea, but now that more and more has come to light, I don't like it the same way. I don't like them the same way. It's the newness has wore off. Just be aware of that. Okay. Between 6 and 8 a.m. Central Standard Time, the moon is going to hit a conjunction to Jupiter. So you can see this right here at 6:30. Here's the moon. Here's Jupiter, 18 degrees, 17 minutes, 18 degrees, 28 minutes. They're right there. Now, when the moon hits the conjunction to Jupiter, again, Mercury is stationing. So this is like talking to somebody that you respect, telling them that you are ready for something to happen, or asking, hey, can you give me a little bit of a preview? Nope, can't tell you yet. We're getting closer to something, but I can't do it yet. Now, Jupiter, it is the doctor, it is the guru, it is the teacher. We could be asking for some type of like additional time, but being told in that moment, I can't right now, but I can meet with you later. We can talk about this later. I can do it next week. My week is too full. I don't have this availability. First thing in the morning. Now, this can be literally talking about that teacher aspect of like, hey, can I get some extra time for what's the tutoring? I can't do it, but maybe I can put you with somebody else who can. Considering Mercury is stationing, there's going to be a lot of things that it feels like we're trying to do something and the other person doesn't have the time, they can't commit, they're not on the same page, they're not on the same level, something is changing with Mercury in this stationing aspect. Some people can be having conversations with the doctor or about the medical staff. And there can be something here where it's just like, I need to set the appointment with the doctor. I'm not doing it right yet. Or when's the next time I meet with the doctor? This would be a real basic conversation. When's the next time I meet with the doctor? Next week, Mom. Next week. That's our next doctor's appointment. This type of thing. Doesn't have to be heavy. It doesn't feel heavy. It just feels like one extra ticker for how the day is going to go. Sometimes we are the teacher telling somebody no. We are the person saying that we can't help in a certain situation. Other times is the doctor saying, yeah, we don't have definitive news. We don't have a definitive answer. We don't know exactly what's going on quite yet, but we think we might be able to get closer with some additional tests. Don't expect results in this moment. I feel like things would be very inconclusive in a multitude of ways, just to be clear. Okay, I gotta pause this. Okay, I apologize about that. All right. After the moon's conjunction to Jupiter, we're going to go a couple more hours and the moon is going to hit a sextile to Mercury. Now, this is going to go the most exact between 11:30 and 1:30 in the afternoon. So I got this at 12:30 right here. Here's the moon, 21 degrees. Here's Mercury, 21 degrees. You can see the sextile. The moon is in Mercury sign. Mercury is in that stationing position. So this is like asking for the opinion of the person that needs to talk, that needs to make a decision, that needs to provide something. Hey, do you got that ready yet? Oh no, I'm wrapping up the report right now, but I'm going to get it to you. For some people, it's not I'm going to get it to you. It's, oh yeah, here it is. Here's the thing. Here's what you've been waiting on. Here's what I've decided. Here's what we're going to do next. Here's the better way to go. Here's the results. The moon hitting the sextile to Mercury, and they're moving towards each other. Not only is the moon being hosted by Mercury, but Mercury is actually facing and able to respond, react, and be cohesive and comprehensive with the moon in this sextile. Yeah, here's the report. I did it. Here's the results. Sending them over right now. Great. I'll review them when I get back from lunch. Because look at the time. It's lunchtime for a lot of people, at least here where I'm at. It's like, great, I've got a meeting, I've got an appointment, I got this thing, I got this other thing that I'm doing right now, but I will review it as soon as I get back. Great, okay, it's on its way, it's coming right now, be there in 30 minutes. No big deal, right? Right. Moving along. We can have something midway through the day where we finally get something received, some type of news, some type of information, some type of report, some type of statement, some type of communication, confirmation of some sort, and then we get to the afternoon. And this can be exactly what I said before. I will read it when I get back this afternoon. I will read it at the end of the day. I'll review it this evening. Whatever that topic was, we get to the evening time and the moon hits a conjunction to Mars. Mars, good old Mars. Mars he's the god of war. Now, what's interesting about Mars being at 25 degrees with this moon conjunction is it does take us back to that 2-year collective energy. I want to be clear about this. When Mars had its retrograde in Gemini in 2022, the point of shadow where he turned retrograde was 25 degrees of Gemini. And that happened October 30th of 2022. 25 degrees. The next time he was here, he was in a square to Mercury, the Sun, and Neptune, and that was in March of 2023. There can be something from either of those two timelines that's directly impacting this right here. There can be themes from those two timelines that's directly coming through right here. And it really all comes down to what this area of the sky rules. Now, for some people, this is going to be a continuous energy. Like I said before, I'll send that report later today. I'll send that communication. It's on its way. Great. I'll review it this evening. I'll review it tomorrow. I'll review it when I get time. This is like we get time and we see the continuous effect. But for other people, this will have nothing to do with what was going on in the daytime. And this will have to do with those prior two timelines. It's either going to go back to the October 30th time frame. And to be clear, Mars was at 25 degrees of Gemini from mid-October to mid-November of 2022. It was there for a month. And he's now crossing his point of shadow. So for some people, the Moon Mars thing, this is a collective energy that has absolutely nothing to do with the rest of it. For some people, it's like a bill, a screenshot, a communication, a meeting from that time comes back through and has a reflection. For some people, this can be a person from that time comes through, and it's very disruptive because, again, it's Mars. But again, it's a part of that unfinished business. If we don't have the unfinished business, this feels more like a continuous effect. For some people, it can be a mix of both. You can be going through and reading that report from whatever got provided to you in that day, but your spouse, your roommate, your brother, your mom, somebody comes through and goes, hey, I'm not feeling well. Or, hey, I just found something. Do you remember this? Do you remember this situation? I got this bill. I don't even know where it's from, but it's that far back and it's frustrating. It's disruptive. It's not a part of the plan, and that's for damn sure. So be aware of this Moon Mars conjunction, because this literally can be something coming back around from a long ass time ago for no reason at all. It can be something that's very disruptive that is a continuous theme from a long time ago. It can also be something super fun and exciting, because it could be as simple as like pictures being sent to you going, do you remember whenever we did this at the Halloween party? I don't know why. I just looked at these. It can be that too. But for some people, I do feel like this can be a very disruptive, potentially argumentative, potentially unplanned disruption in the evening time, just to be clear. Okay. Moving along. As for Tuesday, there ain't a whole lot else going on. Be very, very aware of that Moon Mars conjunction, because that can be something very unexpected, and it can lead to something happening as we get into Wednesday. So now we're getting into Wednesday. And the first thing that starts to happen between midnight and 2 a.m. is the moon is hitting the square to Venus. Venus, who just had a trine from Uranus. Venus, who is now building her opposition to Neptune. And there can be a push, there can be a questioning, there can be information that is necessary, there can be a review of the Venusian. And the reason I'm saying a review is because Venus is going to be the stronger of the two rulers in the upcoming eclipse axis. So whatever can be coming through somewhere between Wednesday and Thursday can be a bit of light, the start of a path that's going to directly impact eclipse season. And the Venusian eclipse is going to happen on October 2nd. So that means it can be starting to set the stage and the awareness of where our focus is going to shift again over the course of September and October. It can be literally like starting line. Hi, here's my line. Here's the start. For some people, though, this is going to be something else completely. It's going to be a questioning about the appearance, a questioning of the Venusian, a questioning of the aesthetic of what has changed, of how we feel, of how something tastes. And some people can be very, very critical, or they can be asking questions that they already know the answer to, but they want to see what you say. And again, do not put yourself in a situation where you get caught lying this week. And if you try to ask somebody of a question and you know they start lying, you already know what energy is grabbing them. Be aware of that. The moon is going to square Venus between 12 a.m. and 2 a.m. So this is right after midnight. So for some people, this can manifest Tuesday evening, but for the most part, it is the most exact right after midnight going into Wednesday, making myself clear about that. Now, the one thing that's also going to be really interesting is in that 1:30 time frame, between 1:30 and 3:30, while the moon is still in its square to Venus, it is also going through a square with Neptune. Venus and Neptune are starting to build their opposition. This can be a precursor to what's going to happen later in the day. You can ask for somebody to say, okay, are you ready for this meeting? Are you ready for this appointment? And they can tell you a version of events that's going to potentially blow up in their face, but you don't know that at the time. And you believe the influence, or you hear something. And as soon as you hear it, you're like, I know you are lying. Be prepared for that. I do anticipate there's going to be some people that like try to get caught in, or no, they're not trying to. They are going to get caught in lies this week. And it can be their downfall, especially if they're Venus activated. Okay. Okay. Now the moon is going to go into Cancer at 3:48 a.m. Central Standard Time. So I bumped this to 4:30. Boom, here's the moon in Cancer. And whatever starts to come through that late part of Tuesday and the overnight hours of Wednesday, whatever information, whatever the topic, whatever the conversation, whatever this is, do not be surprised if afterwards we don't have something that hits us in the feels and starts to bring up emotions. We start to react to something emotionally. And again, not a good time to get caught in lies. I want to keep saying that. Based off of whatever is about to get revealed, this is the last part of the Mercury retrograde time frame. So there is something about this that speaks to the prior energy. Okay, moving along. Oh, the moon is going to be in Cancer, all day. We're going to get to the mid-afternoon. We have a bunch of things that are going to happen all simultaneously. And I'm showing you when this goes the most exact, not necessarily all the same transits, but we have 3 transits that are all happening within the same few hours. So for timeline purposes, we're going to feel this the most between 2 p.m. and 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. We got 3 things going on here. The first one, the moon is going to hit the sextile to the sun. The sun and Mercury are in mutual reception. So anything that impacts the sun impacts Mercury. Mercury is stationing, and over the next hour will turn direct, specifically at 4:17. So that's the second thing, Mercury turning direct. The other thing that's happening in the same time frame, Venus and her exact opposition to Neptune, and you can see this right here. Now we feel this the most exact between 3:24 and 3:43 p.m. So it's like 3:30 is a very hyperized time for a lot of people, between 3:30 and 4:30. Here's Venus in the opposition to Neptune. Neptune, illusion, delusion, lies, fraud, deception. Let's not get caught in lies. And some people, you're going to literally see them try to lie about something. For other people, it's going to have to do with the effects. Neptune likes to cloud our judgment. So we can have something that has to do with vices and substances clouding our judgment. We could also have something having to do as simple and mundane as like, hey, did they finally get my medicine in? That could be a super mundane thing. It's like, oh, let's call the pharmacy and come to find out, yes, but they haven't filled it yet. So like this can be as simple as a pharmacy thing. But for other people, it's not going to be that. I'm going to be clear about that. Sometimes we have the mundane thing. We can go somewhere and meet with somebody, and once a certain information comes out, a certain story comes to light, a version of the events, the other side of something. This is the energy that can take us back to that middle week of July that I was talking about in the intro. This day is where it's the most exact. Neptune, whenever it comes to his energy, sometimes it is a spiritual energy. It has to do with our spirituality and our faith. A lot of other times it has to do with fraud, lies, and deception. And other times it has to do with substances or things that cloud our judgment, but in the positive way. So like drowning ourselves in video games, something that is not real, that is fantasy. There can be positives and negatives to this energy and to this vibration, but I need people to be prepared that something in this energy can literally be a starting line, a new focus as to where we start to deal with things in eclipse season. Neptune is one of the rulers of Pisces, where we will have the first eclipse. Venus is the ruler of Libra, where we will have the second eclipse. There's a lot of the energy of the last 2 weeks, last week and this week, these rounding out energies of the Mercury retrograde, that gives us glimpses of where our focus is going to be in eclipse season. But this is also happening at 29 degrees. Whatever conversation is being had can also have to do with, you told me something before, you led me to believe something before, and now I don't believe you, so I'm done. And considering the 29-degree mark, this can literally encapsulate a finality for a lot of people. You've lied to me for the last time. I let you trick me for the last time. I have believed you for the last time. I'm not doing this with you anymore. You said one thing that ended up not being real, not being true. So I'm going to leave and I'm going to focus and I'm going to shift my focus. Some of us, we know we are purposely shifting our focus. Others are going to be blindsided by it. They're going to be confused. This is 3:30. Venus opposite Neptune is the most exact. Mercury, 21 degrees, 24 minutes. The moon is in the sextile to the sun in Mercury sign. These two are impacting one another. I bumped this 1 hour to 4:30. Venus is still opposite Neptune, so we're still very much in the same kind of meeting and dialogue, but Mercury is turning direct. For some people, we have to go in a new direction. We have to do something different. The way we were doing something before will not work. And it's like once we come to terms with that decision, this will lead to things being alleviated. This will lead to things shifting. This will lead to certain people leaving and going in new directions, shifting their focus and going to find something new that brings peace to their heart. Is it all going to be peaceful in their heart in this moment? No. I'm saying that over the course of September and October, knowing where we're going next. Mercury is now direct. This is a very important day in this Mercury retrograde, to be absolutely clear. Okay. Oh, after this mid-afternoon time frame, don't be surprised if whatever comes through makes us feel very emotional and we can be responding to something emotionally. We can get very upset that somebody's leaving. We can get very upset that somebody said this thing about us. We can get very upset with the way the audit came out, the results came out. We can get very upset by the effects of something where we were previously clouded about something. We are no longer clouded about that. And it will lead to a series of actions that will follow, but not in this exact moment. A lot of people need to take time after this to wrap their head around a few things, just to be clear. Okay. There's not a whole lot of direct transits again after this on the 28th. So now we're going to go ahead and get into Thursday. We're going to get into the 29th. And again, a lot of people are going to be in their feels. A lot of people are going to finally get some sleep that night, or some people are going to be crying themselves to sleep. I'm not even going to lie about that. Now, what's going to be interesting is the next morning. So I'm going to go ahead and get this to about 8:30. At 8:23 a.m. Central Standard Time, Venus is going to enter Libra. Venus will then also enter a trine with Pluto. We will see this the most exact between 9:22 and 9:41 a.m. That's when it's exact. So basically, it's like we wake up on Thursday morning and we immediately know we're going into something new, that we're about to shift our focus by telling somebody we can't do something the same way anymore, that we can't be a part of something. We shift our focus. So our first two of the four big changes of this week have now occurred. Mercury is now direct. Venus has changed signs. And whatever was spoken about in that Venus-Neptune opposition, what's interesting about Venus going into Libra is now we have also gone into an ANTISCIA with Neptune. I'm against something. I'm against that dialogue. I'm against that story. I'm against that person. I'm against these results. I'm against something, and I'm working with that. Venus is trine to Pluto, which is a more direct thing to look at whenever we go through this ANTISCIA energy, which the ANTISCIA energy will be something we're dealing with all through Thursday and Friday. By working against something, we're also addressing an area where we have previously had a power struggle, where we were previously promised something that did not deliver. We were previously working through something and realizing some other area where we have to make adjustments, where we have to go backwards. Are we going backwards all in the same time frame? Not exactly, but it's like, okay, this is done. I don't work here anymore. And a lot of people, if you have to hold like credentials and licenses for you to go to another place, it's not just doing the paperwork and going to work somewhere. It's also changing your credentials and sometimes changing your license. Like if you're in the medical field, or if you're in real estate, or mortgage brokerages, if you're electricians, I'm pretty sure you have to tell the state every time, like where you are working. Insurance people, like there's something about like where we report now also being a part of it. So it's like we have a timeline of transition that starts to set in, and many people are going to be aware of that right here. Okay. Between 10 a.m. and noon, the moon is going to hit a trine from Saturn. So you can see I got this at 10:30. Here's the moon, 16 degrees, 30 minutes. Here's Saturn, 16 degrees, 45 minutes. We can have some type of emotional response that's coming through about who's going to be in charge of what. So-and-so is not here anymore. So-and-so is not involved. We've removed them from this project. They're sick. They've got something else going on. We can't do this the same way. And there can be a very big conversation again about where the shift of responsibility is going to go, because the people that were in positions of power, the people that were supposed to be taking care of things, they have decided to move away. They have gone another direction. And it can instigate this frustration energy. So emotions don't have to just be like, oh, I'm so sad. No, sometimes emotions are going to be frustration. And this can feel very, very frustrating, because this has been allowed, because this has happened, because this is accepted. Now we have this other energy that it can be instigating the next round of confusion. But we are clear about something while also being confused. We're aware of something while also not being in charge, not being in control. And some people will confirm that there is a power dynamic that is shifting. For other people, they're going to be profusely against it. They're going to change their mind. Now, some people can be exactly that. It can be around this time frame, that Thursday, Friday time frame. Right now, we're again on Thursday morning, where somebody says something and they're given some type of notice, some type of knowledge of like, I know you feel that way, but I want you to take the weekend to think about it. Make sure you're really okay with this decision. Make sure you're really clear with this decision. Don't be so hasty. I'm going to be hasty 2 times over. What are you talking about? But some people will take that weekend. They will take the few days to think about it. Be prepared for that too. Okay. The moon's trine with Saturn, again, early morning between 10 a.m. and noon. So this is all stuff that's happening early in the day. Some people, you had a very dynamic meeting that happened on Wednesday that, we're still dealing with on Thursday. And for a lot of people, this does feel like a carryover from the day before. Like there's a whole different focus that's starting to arrive based off of that ending moment of that retrograde. And it's becoming more clear over the course of the rest of the week and the weekend. Okay. Now, when we get into the evening time, so we don't have anything else going on throughout the day. This is going to be the evening time. The moon is going to enter a square from Chiron. Now, we're going to feel this the most exact between 10 and midnight. So here's Chiron, 23 degrees. Here's the moon, 22:51. There's something here about what actions we have to do to take to fix something. For some people, we are getting advice from another person of like, in the past, how did you deal with this? How did you handle this? How did you heal from this? What did you deal with when your mom was sick? What did you deal with whenever your boss had a heart attack and suddenly nobody knew how to be the boss anymore? What did you do in these situations with your siblings? What did you do with your spouse? What did you do? What did you do? And there can be recollections of past situations and how we fixed them, the actions that we took. And we're trying to give hope. We're trying to give inspiration. We're trying to give aid to another person of like, these are the steps that you can take to overcome, correct, heal with Chiron square to the moon. And again, this is the most exact between 10 p.m. and midnight. You can see this right here. And we can be very much stuck in our feelings, trying to put something together, but not immediately knowing, again, how to put any of it together. Just to be clear. Okay. Moving along, we're going to go ahead and get into Friday. We're going to get into the 30th now at 2:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. This is when Venus and that Antiscia to Neptune is the most exact. And for people that are listening to me for the very first time, like you've only been listening to me since this Mercury retrograde, basically, if I was to fold the chart at certain areas of the sky, these two planets would lie on top of each other. And Antiscia is a secret opposition. A contra-Antiscia is a secret connection. It's a secret vibe together. This is an Antiscia. Hate is going to hate. And the effects of something is going to impact another person in a way that they can't directly see. They're not anticipating. They don't believe is going to happen. And I mean this profusely for the Venus ruled people and those that are having Venus as their time lord. Babies, if you lied earlier this week, it's going to impact you in eclipse season. Whatever you're starting to deal with now is going to be based off of that fallacy. It's going to be based off of that that deception, I should say it that way. For other people, if it was the effects of something, it's like we dealt with a symptom, we dealt with the medicine. Some of us, we got the new medicine. Venus is opposition to Neptune. And like as soon as we started to take it, it's like it's changed something in our chemical. It's changed something in our body. We don't feel as much pain. We don't feel as much frustration. And that can be a good thing. It really comes down to what the hell Venus's Neptune opposition was for you, if it was a good energy or a bad energy. Because whatever that was is now imprinting how the effects of something are going to happen moving forward. And those effects are going to be more voiced, more loud, more known, because Venus is in an air sign. Okay. Oh, get into the morning time between 6 and 8 a.m. I got this at 7:30. Uranus, 27 degrees, 15 minutes, is going to hit a sextile to the moon. Uranus is stationing. Uranus is hesitant, not wanting to move the same way. The moon is full steam ahead, as always. So there can be like, hey, I don't know if I'm going to be able to take this meeting next week. Would you be willing to do this? And we hear something from somebody unexpectedly. Or, hey, I had a conversation with so-and-so, and I've been trying to wrap my head around it for a few days. And now I really want to get your opinion. I want to get something out of you. I want to know what you think about what got said. Well, what got said? I don't know. Let's talk about it. And there can be something unexpected to Friday morning when Uranus hits that sextile to the moon. This will be the last Uranus energy with Uranus direct. What's going to happen next is Uranus will turn retrograde. That's going to happen on Sunday. So we can hear something, talk about something in this moment, knowing that it can potentially change somebody's opinion, change somebody's mindset, change the way that they were thinking something was going to go. So be aware of that. This unexpected little conversation. It's not a heavy energy. It's really not. But Uranus is being hosted by Venus. Venus is now in that that Antiscia to Neptune. I'm adding the wrong word now. That Antiscia to Neptune. So we can be talking about this unexpected thing. And once we talk it through, review it, confirm it, or deny it, it cements something else that, again, we're pondering over the weekend. That's about to change over the course of the weekend between Friday and the beginning of next week. Okay. Moving along. The moon is going to go through a trine with Neptune right after this. That we're going to feel that the most exact between 9:30 and 11:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. So here's Neptune, 29 degrees, 5 minutes, making a trine. Trines are triangles, water to water element. The same elements are involved. We have something that we must understand, but Neptune's going in another way. So they said this. Well, that's not true. Can you tell me otherwise? Can you tell me why that's not true? Can you tell me why that's not real? For some people, we can be talking about like, are you feeling better from the medicine? Because sometimes Neptune has to do with medicine, has to do with treatment, it has to do with something else. They're like, yeah, I've been feeling like way better. I don't feel the same way that I did. So I think this is going to be good for me, or it's going to be bad for me. Some people with the effects of something can be literally something going on weird in the body. For other people, it can be past inspiration. You remember that time we did this thing? Oh yeah. And it's like you're sitting down with somebody and you're talking about something nostalgic, because Neptune can be nostalgic a lot of times. And we're talking to somebody about the past, something from the past. And for some people, we're getting clarity on that past. Okay. At 12:10 p.m. Central Standard Time, the moon is going to go into Leo. So get this, 12:30, here we go. Here's the moon in Leo. As soon as it goes into Leo, it immediately starts its opposition to Pluto. And we could be facing something, realizing that somebody's about to pull away, somebody's about to change their mind, somebody is talking about wanting to go back. I thought everything was going to go well. I thought everything was going to go right. I thought everything was going to be this way, but I'm realizing it's not quite what I thought it was. And there can be something that is shifting and transforming. There is something that we must face that can be very, very triggering. Something from the past, an abuse, a struggle, someone from the past that we had struggles with. But there can be this energy where we're talking about things from the past. And once they come more to light, once they are dealt with, once we've been able to talk to the right person, they can take us out of our funk. It can make us realize, like, the reason all of these things have been coming back around, all of these themes have been coming back around, is because this is a part of your unfinished business. And we got to go back on that other thing. We got to go back to this other place. We got to go talk about this old thing, this old situation. We got to face something. I don't want to face it. I understand that. But something about that is keeping you from moving forward. It's literally anchoring you. The past, you're too tethered to it. So you're going to have to go back, whether you like it or not. I don't want it. I know. But I didn't get a vote. The universe said you got to go. So you got to go. And there can be things where we're talking to somebody about these old wounds, these old fears, and all of these things, and the way they've been making them feel, and it's taking them back to a place. And we can be addressing this right here. This can have literally nothing to do with everything else. This can have everything to do with everything else. Facing a fear can be a big part of this vibration. Okay. We feel the moon's opposition. I almost said sun. I apologize. The moon's opposition to Pluto between 11:30 and 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. So that's also kind of whenever the moon's in that trine to Neptune. So it's like we get that blast from the past energy, and now we're facing and having a hard conversation that needs to finally be had. Be aware of that. And again, the end of that conversation can be like, you should take the weekend to really think about it, to wrap your head around this, to consider the other direction, to consider going back, to consider dealing with this thing, to consider squashing a situation from before. And that can be a big part of this energy. Moving this along, we're going to get into the afternoon. And between 2 and 4:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, the moon is also going to hit that sextile to Venus. Now, Venus had the trine with Pluto. The moon in that opposition to Pluto hitting the sextile to Venus. This can be like talking to another person going, hey, what the hell did you say to so-and-so? What'd you say to Pluto? I said what needed to be said. I told him the truth. I told him this thing they didn't want to hear. I told him I was leaving. I told him I didn't feel the same way. I told him I'm going this other direction. I told him I know he was lying. I know he did those things. And there can be something very much brought to light, brought to the surface in a whole other way. But it's, again, it's like the same information, but a new person is involved. A new person is a part of it. And there can be, again, some kind of energy where we're, again, seeing the layers of something we have to go back and deal with. It's edging us back somewhere. It's retaking our focus somewhere. It's changing something in the energy. Okay. Moving this along. After the moon sextile to Venus, there ain't a whole lot else to Friday. So I feel like once people get into the weekend, with the moon being in Leo, people are going to want to do things that are fun. And the great thing about the 31st, about Saturday, nothing, no direct transits at all whatsoever. The moon is in void, but it ain't doing anything. The other planets are moving, but they're not doing a direct transit. It's like whatever conversation we have on Friday afternoon. And again, we have this moment where we're telling somebody you should take the weekend to think about something. You should take the next few days before you react or change your mind or change your opinion. You should take the weekend. Don't be surprised by that. Now, for some people, you're going to take the weekend and you just want to unwind and you want to have fun. You want to do these things that give us a boost in our emotions, that give us the boost in our confidence. And that's because the moon is in Leo. And whenever it comes to Saturday, again, there's no direct transits. So we're vibing and we're having fun. And sometimes when you start to have a little bit of fun, you start to show your ass a little bit. Be careful about showing your ass. That might come back to bite you on Sunday. But for most part, fun in the sun, have a good time, have a good weekend. It's not heavy, I'm telling you. So we're going to go ahead and get into Sunday, and Sunday's got more to it. Hello, September. September 1st is here. And whenever it comes to Sunday, there's some things that start to pick up. Now, the first transit happens right after midnight. So the human effect is this might be something that plays into Saturday night, but it's not direct to Saturday night, at least not in my time zone. So I'm showing it whenever it is the most exact. Between 12:30 and 2:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, Jupiter is going to hit a sextile to the moon. The doctor, the teacher, the guru, the medicine, the lessons, talks about our decisions, things about wealth and prosperity. And it's like we're revealing it to someone else. We're talking to somebody else. It can be as boring as like, yeah, I put money in crypto or stock or something like this. But another person, you can be telling somebody your business plan and you can be giving them something grand to be thinking about. Are you all probably a little drunk or a little high, having a good time? Absolutely. But is he listening? Is she listening? Are they tuned in? Yes, absolutely. Be aware of that. After this transit, everything else is going to happen in the actual morning time. So not the midnight time frame. So we're going to get this early in the morning. And between 6:30 and 8:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, the moon is going to make a conjunction to Mercury. You can see this is almost exact right here. Here's the moon, here's Mercury. And what happened with Mercury the last few days? Oh, Mercury turned direct. That new information, that change in the dialogue, that change in the opinion, the results of something, we could be trying to get out of our heads all through Friday evening and Saturday, playing on the lake, doing those fun little things. But then you get to Sunday morning and you're just kind of drinking your coffee going, and you're stuck in your head. And somebody asks what's going on, and you actually tell them what you're thinking about. And that can be a good thing. That can be a big thing. At the same moment, somebody could say something and it doesn't get received well. And it's not because of the moon Mercury conjunction that I'm saying that. It's actually because of what happens next. At 10:18 a.m., so just within a few hours of this transit, Uranus is going to turn retrograde. So I'm going to bump this just a few hours to 10:30. Uranus is now retrograde. This is a turn in the excitement, a turn in independence, not as in tune with something anymore. Now, some people can have a very easy conversation in the morning time, or some people can loudly pronounce some kind of plan, and you're getting on somebody's nerves because you have been showing your ass. Some people are going to show their ass this weekend. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't. I think everybody should have a good time. But just remember, your version of a good time is not everybody's version of a good time. Sometimes you got to go with the flow, and other times you got to realize when you're being annoying and pushing people's buttons. Now, why do I say it that way? Let's bump this to the afternoon, because all of what I'm about to describe next happens all within the same 5-hour period. So I'm going to bump this to about 4:30. We got the first one. Between 4:30 and 6:30 p.m., Uranus is going to hit a square to the moon, 90-degree angles. Okay. Right after this, between around 6:58, Pluto is going to go back into Capricorn. So I'm going to bump this now to 7:30. Boom, Pluto's in Capricorn. The other thing that is going on during this time frame is Mars is going to hit a sextile to the moon. This is a lot of unexpected vibration energy that can lead to tensions. And this is why I'm saying that. If some people are showing their ass this weekend because they're trying to get out of the funk, they're trying not to think about it, or some people you're just excited and you want to celebrate and you're trying to celebrate, but not everybody's on the same vibration as you. You can push some buttons. And I want to be very clear about that in this moment of like pushing the right person's buttons, and they literally jerk you against the wall going, if you don't quit acting like an asshole, I'm going to make you. And it's going to scare the shit out of you. For other people, though, this is not going to be that snap reaction. But I'm warning that this feels like a snap reaction to some people. And that once we get into parts of Sunday afternoon and evening, people can become snappy because Uranus is newly retrograde. But for other people, this will have absolutely nothing with a snappy reaction. It can finally be like we get through parts of Sunday and we've been vibing all weekend and we're feeling the sun on our skin and all that vitamin D. And suddenly we come to terms with, you're like, I think I'm done. What? I don't think I'm going to continue. I don't think I'm going to stay in this business partnership. I know I've been excited and I know I put all this effort into it all year, but I'm miserable. This isn't what I wanted. This isn't what we agreed to. I think I'm done. I think I'm going to tell them when we get back on Tuesday, because again, here in the States, it's a holiday. Some people are going to go to work on Monday. Other people, it's going to be a part of like something in the week, somewhere between Tuesday and Friday of the next week. And there's something in this energy that's going to round us into something new based off new information that has come to light. Because once we get into Monday, we're getting into the new moon in Virgo. The moon will actually go into Virgo on Sunday night at 10:49 p.m. Central Standard Time. So hours after this moment. And there can be something that leads to new vibration based off of the information that is at hand. But we can be coming to terms with some kind of decision, because what I said is as we round out the week, many of us are going to go into the weekend being told, take the weekend before you make any kind of decision. Take a few days to think about it. We've had some time to think about it. Now, something that hit after we got done with the Wednesday transit, I apologize, it's probably around the time that I had to pause it. With that Venus opposite Neptune. I'm going back to that. For some people, Venus opposite Neptune is going to be a leap of faith. And we're going to go into something blindly. And it can lead to the turnaround. It's like we've been waiting on somebody to come through. We keep seeing them in our meditation. We've been seeing them in our dreams. And then that leap of faith energy finally comes through right at the end of the Mercury retrograde. And I got to be honest, I don't hate that idea. The idea of the leap of faith. For some people, that can be financial. For other people, that's going to be something that speaks to our heart content of where we're going to make changes. Again, going through September and October. But I do feel like whatever is coming through that middle part of the week, that it's like, here is the starting line of something. And we have to end something to cross that line. And there will be a crossing of that line. But for some people, it's not going to have to do with medicine. It's not going to have to do with lies. It's not going to have to do with fraud. It's not going to have to do with deception. It's going to have to do with that leap of faith energy. Because again, they are going to be the rulers of where that next eclipse is going to be. The two of them, the September 17th one and the October 2nd one. But I said it in the Mercury retrograde video that I did back in July. I've been saying it all month. There's so much of this Mercury retrograde that's going to directly impact what we start to deal with in eclipse season. And as soon as we're done with this Mercury retrograde, that is where a lot of our attention is going to start to shift, or our focus is going to start to fall. And the energy of Pluto going back into Capricorn, that is going back to the drawing board for a lot of people. And cardinal signs, once we get through this week, you're going to start feeling that vibration of this energy a lot more. A lot of cardinal signs, you have been the support through all of the mess. Like, you haven't directly had things going on, but everybody around you have, and you just sit there watching. Oh, wow, that's a lot. That's a lot of crazy. That's a lot of change. That's a lot of insecurity. That's a lot of things. And after everybody else made all these things happen, now they're getting pushed onto you somehow. You're being forced to make a decision because of their actions. And that wasn't a part of the plan. That wasn't a part of the agenda, but you're feeling it by the time we go into September. And again, this week's, the way it ends is the start of the new month. So I'm putting you on deck. I'm making you aware. You might not feel that way Sunday, the 25th, whenever y'all hear this, or whatever day you start this one, but don't be surprised. You're about to be on deck. You're going to have a lot of things on your plate, and you just don't even know it yet. Oh, there's a ripple effect that follows that long-term decision that happened in the Aquarius full moon. And for some people, there was a security in that full moon. We felt secure. We felt strong. We felt good in that vibration. For other people, it was hugely disruptive. And they felt like the things that they were promised, the things that they were anticipating, were going to go a certain way, but come to find out they're not. Uranus turning retrograde can impact people's independence, where we've been fighting to do things on our own for so long. And now all of a sudden, didn't feel the same way. We're not in that vibration the same way. We're not focused the same way. And there is a change in our mindset, a change in the information, a change on the things that we're willing to reveal, a change on people that we have protected, that we have loved, that we have respected, that was meant to come through in August. And in many ways, this week is reaching a bit of a peak and a climax. But I don't want it to feel explosive, because I don't feel like it's explosive. I feel like, the writing has been on the wall for a lot of people. The pattern was there before. We chose not to see it. And the reason we choose not to see things, guys, is because we're too damn close. And there's a reason meditation, whether it's active meditation or the sitting still and rubbing your fingers together, whatever works for you, there's a reason meditation is so important, because in meditation, you're supposed to practice a mindfulness of stepping back from everything and to look at things objectively. Some of us require an objective forefront, objective thought, to see the whole picture, to see the whole dynamic. And when you take that step back and you look at the pattern in another person's behavior, you can see it all the way through. God, they are narcissistic. Man, he has been gaslighting me. They have been lying. They didn't tell me the truth. They weren't being real with me. Oh my God, it was there the whole time. And I couldn't see it. Why couldn't I see it? Because you're too close. And for some people, whatever we start to deal with in September is going to be you looking at things more objectively. And many of you might have to start over on some things through September and October. But you had lessons in the moment. You had lessons that came through that made you aware of where to be objective, how to be objective, of how to look at things differently. And it's going to allow for a whole different level of production to come through you. And you need to be selective. You need to be on guard. You need to be not rushed into excitement, but making decisions logically. Because when we make things happen logically, they're more likely to stick. There's parts of this week that you need to anticipate the change in the information, the change in the conversation, the change in the dialogue, the change in the plans, the change in the story, the change in the reports, the change in what had been agreed upon, because someone else could not live up to that standard. And for some of you, you couldn't live up to that standard, and you need to take a step back, eat your humble pie, and again, go back to the drawing board and regroup. Expect new information to come through this week. Expect the turnaround. Expect that leap of faith. Expect the lies. Expect something. Okay. I love and appreciate every single one of you. Thank you for all of the support. Thank you for everybody that's been hopping onto the Zooms. Thank you for people that are sharing this and all the new people that have been coming through. I love and appreciate every single one of you. I will talk to everybody very, very soon. Subscribe.